Becky Watts, a pretty and smart 16-year-old girl from Bristol, England. A loving daughter, a loving sister. This young lady had her whole life ahead of her. That was until she discovered that she had a true monster in the family. This is Night Owl. Welcome back, one and all. I'm Ted, your host, and this, of course, is Night Owl. Tonight, we're flying across the ocean to bonny old England, a city called Bristol, known for being the hot air balloon capital of the world. Ha! That's funny. Here I am thinking that the source of hot air came from politicians. It was also the home of Becky Watts, a sweet 16-year-old girl living a pretty much normal teenager's life, living with her dad and stepmom. On February the 19th, 2015, her stepmom, Angie Galsworthy, who suffers from multiple sclerosis, had an appointment at the hospital, so she left the house at about 11:15 a.m., leaving Becky's stepbrother, Nathan Matthews, and his girlfriend, Shauna Hoare, at home. When she returned home, she seen her son and his girlfriend, but no Becky. According to her son and his girlfriend, Becky left a bit after his mom did. He says that he didn't exactly see her leave, but they heard the door slam, so he just assumed it was Becky leaving. But by 4 p.m. the next day, her concern began to grow because there was still no sign of Becky, so she called the police to report her stepdaughter missing. The police opened an investigation immediately, and they started by looking at the house. Now, they initially were basing their investigation on the premise that she left the house under her own power. I mean, that is what they were told by the stepbrother and his girlfriend. During their initial investigation, they discovered some things were missing, like her phone, tablet, and laptop. But she left without taking a change of clothes or any money. So, they were fairly certain that she didn't just decide to take off and run away. The cops concentrated their search on quite a few properties in the Barton Hill, South Mead, St. George's Park, and Troopers Hill Nature Reserve areas. They also checked out the local parks as well as other open spaces. They even did a house-to-house search. Volunteers even took it upon themselves to organize their own searches in the Wharf Road and Fish Ponds, Trim Valley, and Baddocks Wood areas. On February the 22nd, the police from Avon and Somerset reached out to the public for assistance, to see if anyone that has any info that may help them find Becky. The following day, Becky's father and grandfather did the same thing. Social media even chipped in to help. A campaign using the hashtag #FindBecky was started, and it reached millions of people. Keep in mind, the reason they hold these press conferences isn't just to keep the public informed. I mean, that is definitely part of it. It's also to, hopefully, drum up some tips and leads. And that it did. In fact, some of these tips pointed a finger at a few suspects. And who was that, you might be wondering? None other than Becky's stepbrother, Nathan Matthews, and his girlfriend, Shauna Hoare. On February 28th, the two were taken into custody for being connected to Becky's disappearance. On March 3, 2015, on a property in Barton Court, Barton Hill, the remains of Becky Watts were found in more than one container. At that point, Nathan and Shauna were charged with ending Becky. Of course, it takes a lot to cut up and store a body, so they had to recruit a few friends to at least help them store poor Becky's remains, which of course led to some others being charged. In fact, there were actually 4 others. They were Carl Demetrius, his twin brother Donovan Demetrius, Carl's girlfriend Jadine Parsons, and James Ireland, all of which was charged with assisting an offender. There was a 5th dude that was arrested, but he was released without being charged. As for Nathan and Shauna, that was not the end of the charges, not even close. They also picked up the charges of conspiracy to kidnap, preventing the lawful burial of a body, and possession of an illegal weapon. And, not to mention a few crimes that wasn't even connected to what they did to Becky, but ones the police uncovered as they were conducting their investigation. And they were 4 counts of making indecent images of children. Nathan also was charged with SA and voyeurism. Jesus, they are real pillars of the community, aren't they? Their trial began on October 6, 2015. The prosecution stated that it was a failed SA-motivated kidnapping attempt carried out by these 2 heinous individuals. After the deed was done, they put her body in the trunk of their car. Then they went back into his mom's house, ordered food, and waited for several hours for his mom and stepdad to return home. While they waited, they watched some video on YouTube called "Do You Want to Hide a Body?" Now, according to the BBC, that video is listed as a comedy, but personally, I think they were looking for some tips. Anyway, after everyone made it home, Nathan and Shauna went back to their place, unloaded the body, and, using a circular saw, they were able to put her remains into several boxes and bags. Then they took them over to a friend's house to store them in his shed. Now, Nathan said that yes, he did indeed end her life, but he didn't mean to. It was completely by accident, and he claimed that it had nothing to do with SA at all. Oh no, he claimed that Becky had behavior problems, and he thought that if he pretended to kidnap his stepsister, it would scare her straight, but then things just went wrong.
Bullshit.
The funny thing is, no one knew what the bloody hell he was talking about. As far as anyone knew, Becky had no behavior problems at all. And as for Shauna, well, she claimed that she wasn't even in the house while this was going on. She said she was in the backyard, and she didn't learn about it until after the fact. And Nathan backed her up on what she said. But there was a bit of a problem with this. You see, it seems there was quite a few text messages sent between Nathan and Shauna. In them, they made a lot of references about the kidnapping of school-aged girls, to which Shauna said that those text messages were unfortunate and sarcastic. Oh, was that what they were? Too bad. To the rest of the world, it kinda paints you two as having an unhealthy obsession with teenage girls. Of course, that was not the only evidence the prosecution had to show in court. They also had CCTV footage that showed Nathan's and Shauna's activities on both the 19th of February and the days following what they did to Becky. It showed the little pit stop they made on the way to Nathan's mom's house on the 19th. And it showed them buying a circular saw as well as cleaning supplies in between February 20th and 22nd. And then there's the DNA. Yep, you guessed it. They found Nathan's and Shauna's DNA with Becky's remains. Now, remember the 4 buddies they had that were charged with assisting an offender? Well, it turns out that only 2 of them were convicted. The courts determined that Donovan and James had nothing to do with any of it. But Carl and Carl's girlfriend Jadine were another matter. You see, they actually owned the shed in which Becky's body was found. So, yeah, they were convicted. Carl got 2 years and Jadine got 16 months. Gee, it just goes to show you that if your buddy asks you if it was okay for him to store some of his stuff at your place, well, you might want to ask a few questions before you say yes. In the end, Nathan and Shauna were convicted on all counts. Nathan was sentenced to life without a chance of parole for 33 years, which I guess will put him in his 70s before he's out. As for Shauna, she made out quite a bit better. She only got 17 years for her crime, and she ended up serving less than half that. In fact, she is out and about now, which is an absolute joy to nobody. Well, I'm pretty sure that Shauna is okay with it. At the sentencing, the judge stated that he totally agreed with what the prosecution said about it being SA-motivated kidnapping attempt, and that Nathan had an unhealthy fixation on teenage girls, and Shauna was persuaded to participate in his fixation. He went on to address Becky's family. He said, and I quote,
"Finally, I should like to pay public tribute to the family of Becky for the dignified way in which they have conducted themselves throughout these proceedings. Hearing the evidence during the trial has been difficult for anyone, but it is plain that it has been an immense burden for the family."
Yeah, no kidding. I'm not sure how dignified I'd be in that situation. I mean, I've always felt sorry for families that had to go through this. You've already lost a loved one. Then you have to sit in a courtroom and hear in detail how your loved one came to an end. Man, you gotta feel like you're watching it happen right before your eyes, and there is absolutely nothing you can do about it. That's gotta be heart-wrenching. In February 2016, a bench was erected in Goats Field in remembrance of Becky. When I first seen a picture of Becky's bench, I realized that it truly fit her spirit to a T. It just goes to show you that Becky might be gone, but her soul lives forever. But what do you think? Do you think justice was served? Or do you think Shauna should have received a sentence similar to Nathan's? Please, let me know in the comments. And as always, please remember to hit like, subscribe, and share this video. It really does help me out. Until next time, remember, be you good or be you wicked, everyone deserves justice. Good night.